S.S.S. Behaaloscha, Tofshin Pei Beis. You know, every week when we say the Nesivos Shalom Shir, I always say the Nesivos Shalom always has a beautiful lesson. Confidence building, uplifting, beautiful lesson. But this week is special. This week is a lesson that I think everybody has to learn, everybody has to hear, and you'll let me know afterwards what you think. The Pasuk says in our parsha, we discuss about how the Bnei Yisrael would travel and when they would travel. And the Torah tells us, Uviyoim hakim es hamishkan, when they put up the Mishkan, right? We're discussing now building, taking down the Mishkan, traveling in the Midbar. When you put up the Mishkan, Kisa he'onon es hamishkan la'oyel ha'edus. Right away, when you put it up, it says there'll be a cloud that covers the Mishkan. Uva'erev, and at night, Yihiyeh ala Mishkan kamare eish. There's going to be like a fire over the Mishkan at night. Ad boiker, until the morning. Kein yeh tamid. That is the way it's going to be. So you're going to put up the Mishkan, and you're going to be staying in one place. You're not going to be moving yet. There's going to be a cloud over the Mishkan. And at night there's going to be kamare eish, fire over the Mishkan, and kein yeh tamid. That's the way it's going to be. And then the Torah says, so how are you going to know when to travel? How are you going to know when to go? So the Torah continues, Al pi Hashem yachanu. When Hashem tells you to go, that's when you go. Yachanu, that's when you stay. Al pi Hashem yiso, when the Torah tells you to travel, to go, that's when you go. And as we've said so many different times from the Nesivos Shalom, that the Torah is nitzchias. And every single thing that we read in the Torah, whatever we learn in the Torah, applies to every one of us at any time in every generation. We have a lesson to learn. It's a lesson in Derech Hashem, in the way of leading your life. So, with what we just said now about the Mishkan, about the cloud, the fire, how to go when Hashem tells you to go, what lesson in Derech Hashem are we learning here? So Nesivos Shalom answers and he says, the words Uviyoim hakim es hamishkan. When you put up the Mishkan, says in Nesivos Shalom, you know what that's referring to? Like we said in Parshas Terumah, we said the also the mikdash v'shalchanti b'soicham. Right? We discussed about a mikdash that refers to every individual person. Biyoim hakim es hamishkan is referring to your Mishkan, to each and every person. It's referring to the life that each and every person builds for themselves. So V'yoyim Hakim Es HaMishkan is not only talking to the generation of the Midbar when they build the Mishkan. It's talking about each person. When you build your life, when you build your individual Mishkan, we have certain rules that you should do. And how do we know that the Torah is talking to each and every person? Because the Torah speaks over here in our parsha in a lashon nistar. You know what lashon nistar means? That really what the Torah should have told us is, it should say, V'yoim hakim Moshe es hamishkan. But the Torah doesn't say that. The Torah says, V'yoim hakim es hamishkan. On the day that you build a Mishkan. Another hint that it's talking to each and every one of us in every generation, every person. It speaks generally, not specific to Moshe Rabbeinu. And the lesson to each and every one of us is that B'yoyim hakim es hamishkan, when you put up your Mishkan and you're looking to grow and you're looking to build your life, the Torah is telling us that right away when you put up the Mishkan there's going to be a cloud. Don't think that everything always goes perfectly according to your plan, what you think are human, silly things that we think are going to be our plan for life. The Torah is telling you a fact. There's going to be an anan. There's going to be a cloud. And the cloud represents the nisyonis and the tests that every single person goes through. And everyone goes through their tests and their nisyonis at different times and different stages of their life. The anan that it referred to there is the anan, the cloud that creates darkness. And the Torah continues, and bo'erev, there will be eish. We said at night, bo'erev is going to be like a fire. And that fire represents the Yetzer Hara, says the Nesivos Shalom. The Yetzer Hara that comes to fight each and every person. And the Nesivos Shalom says that is the way of life. The Torah is telling us that that is the way of life. You finally think, now I'm going to set up my life. Now I'm good. Now I'm setting everything up the way I want to. The Torah is telling you that there is going, when you put up your life, there's going to be a cloud. There's going to be those nisyonos that cloud your vision. And there's going to be a fire at night. There's going to be the Yetzer Hara that fights every person. It's a fact that it's going to be that way. And every person, every person goes through the nisyonos and the fights and the tests with the Yetzer Hara. It's interesting, as Sforim say, that everybody's always ready to tell everyone else that they're going through the nisyonos, but they excuse themselves in a different way. The people forget that the same way you go through nisyonos, everyone else does. And where you always give yourself the benefit of the doubt, where you say, oh, I'm just going through an Isaiah and everything, you always look at yourself, I'm going through a rough time, I'm a good person. We forget that other people are the same too. We forget to judge other people favorably, that they too go through nisyonos. Don't judge them. They too have a Yetzer Hara. Don't judge them, because they're gonna get out of it also. And just know, the Nesivos Shalom says that there's a lesson that we have to learn here also. Afterwards, the Torah says, "Va'acharei chen yisu b'nei Yisrael," that after the cloud and after the fire, when that lifts, all the nisyonos are leading you to the places that you're supposed to be on your life. There's going to be a cloud and there's going to be a fire. But va'acharei chen yisu b'nei Yisrael. Just know, you keep your emunah, you keep your bitachon, you keep being dam l'kav zchus, you keep understanding that Hashem is doing the best for you. Va'acharei chen yisu b'nei Yisrael. It's leading you to the place where you're supposed to go. Then you're going to be able to travel. When the dark lifts and you go through the nisyonos, you're going to be in a place of Ar Gadol. You're going to be in the place that Hashem wants you to be. And we see from Avram Avinu, by Avram Avinu, that his biggest growth in his life came from going through the nisyonos. Avram Avinu did a lot of great things in his life, but what the Torah emphasizes, how did Avram Avinu become Avram Avinu? He became that way from the dark. He became that way from the clouds, from the nisyonos. And we are actually the same. You know, the word nisayon also means something that is very large, very tall, and very great. A nace, something like the mast of a ship. It could be seen from great distances. And what sets one person apart from the other is how a person gets through their tests, their fights with the Yetzer Hara. How a person gets through that, that's seen from very far. That's a nace. That's seen from very great differences. The nisyonos are what makes a person great. And this is what the Torah is teaching us here, that this is the way it's always going to be. That ha'anon yechasenu, when you're ready to build, when you think you have it all figured out, there's going to be a cloud that covers it up. Umarei yesh laila, there's also going to be a Yetzer Hara that comes to fight you. And remember that this is the way we grow. It makes us who we are and who we need to be. Life is really one nisayon after the other. For everybody, not just for yourself, for everybody. And it's our individual ladder that we climb, one nisayon after another. That's how people build their lives. You don't look at somebody from 20, from 30, from 10, from 5 years ago, from a year ago, oh, he was this and she was that, and this one was this. You also went through your things. They grow through things, and those are the things that make a person really strong and really great. But each Nisayon brings you to a brighter and a better place in life. And another lesson that this pasuk teaches us is that in the life of every Jew, says in Nesivos Shalom, you need to know that there's going to be times of light and times that seem that they're darkness. And we need to know that every one of those times is with the same hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is leading you and Hashem is watching you. Whether you think it's dark times or light times, it's the same Hashem that's holding your hand and that's walking you through it. The dark times too, they have a real purpose in life, and that purpose is to help us grow. Hashem is hiding behind the Nisayon. He's hiding behind the cloud, but He is there for us, and He is there with us. And your job during those dark times, interesting, the Nesivos Shalom says a beautiful pshat here. Your job during those times when it's dark and you're covered by a cloud is not to travel. Sometimes in life, a person gets down on themselves. I'm not growing enough. I'm not being enough right now. I'm not raising my level at such a high rate. I'm not raising my level quickly enough. And the Torah is teaching us here that when there's a cloud and when there's a fire, it's okay. Just protect yourself. Just get through the storm. You could be standing in one place. At that time, it's time when there's a cloud and there's a fire. Yachanu b'nei Yisrael. That is when you stay in one place. The Torah tells you sometimes it'll be on the Mishkan many days. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael mishmeres Hashem. That's when it's time to watch. It's time just to protect yourself. Time to stand your ground. Time to just strengthen and keep who you are. V'lo yiso, the Torah tells us. It's not time now to be down on yourself because you're not growing. You have an Nisayon, you have a Yetzirah. Bring in surround yourself, make yourself strong. You could stay in one place now. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't necessarily always need you to be climbing that ladder. Now you have to protect yourself. Do what Hashem wants from you right now. Don't look what everybody else is doing. Don't look where you want to be in a year from now. Right now, v'lo yiso. There's a cloud. There's a fire. V'shamru as mishmeres Hashem. You stay in one place, v'lo yiso. And when the cloud lifts, like the Torah says, then al pi Hashem yachanu, v'al pi Hashem yiso. The cloud lifted. You had the strength to go through the Nisayon. You had the strength to grow. Now you're a greater person. Now you're a bigger person. So the lesson that the Torah teaches us now, al pi Hashem yachanu, you stayed in one place because that's where Hashem wanted you to be. He didn't want you to grow for this month, for that year, for 2 years, whatever it is. You're going through a rough time. Create a fortress. Stay in one place. Be strong. Don't care what everybody says about you. Just understand that you have to protect yourself. Al pi Hashem yachanu. And then al pi Hashem yiso. Then Hashem is going to lift the cloud. It's going to lift the Eish. And it's going to be time for you to travel, to go, to rise, just as it was Klal Yisrael. And it's all with the same Hashem. The hashgacha of Hashem during the down times, during the dark times, and the hashgacha of Hashem when it's time to move on. We do what Hashem wants us to do at that time and for that time only. And that's where every Jew has to be. That's what we have to know. Besides judging everyone else favorably, understand for yourself, it's never good to be down on yourself. That's how we grow. We understand where we are. We understand our place in life. We understand that this is the place that Hashem put me right now. Let me do as much as I can, learn as much as I can right now, and when the Nisayon passes, I will be a bigger person. Because when I travel with my head up. Al pi Hashem yachanu, v'al pi Hashem yiso. That is the lesson of this week's parsha, to understand how we travel and when we travel.